Talk a little bit about economic development, your philosophy, and also how the City Council ought to work with the Economic Development Corporation.
Boy, that's a big question, so you're going to get a big answer. There is no point in talking about economic development if the toilets don't flush and the water doesn't come out of the faucet. So the first step in economic development is infrastructure. And to give you an idea of what the performance has been, I'll show you a slide, if you don't mind me showing a slide here. Use your imagination. From 1990 to 1999, we spent about less than $250,000 a year on average on infrastructure. Little tiny bar on the chart here. From 2000 to 2004, we spent just shy of $750,000, so a little bit bigger bar. But from 2004 to 2009, we've spent on average $3 million a year. So we're working on the infrastructure really hard. And I might add, we'll overlay another chart on top of this one. Your tax rate's been steady for the better part of 6 years. Well, a little bit change here and there, but it's a flat line. So the council has recognized that infrastructure is the heart of economic development. Now, my philosophy is to let the market work and not try to tell investors how to spend their money. But I do think we have to use these so-called bully pulpit as well. We might give them color schemes or something. But my big concern is that when you come over the hill from San Antonio, someday we're going to see a Best Buy. That would make me happy. I'd be the first customer there. My favorite store is Best Buy. If they sold Einstein bagels, I'd never have to leave the joint. But I'd really like it to look like it belongs in the hill country, not that it is a cookie cutter everywhere. We have some unique things in our community. We did a study, a $28,000 god-awful study. I was so furious when I saw it I could have chewed nails. But the study said that people like to come here because we have independent restaurants and we have independent shops, and that's what they like about Kerrville, and they love the river. And so I think we have to preserve the river, and we want to encourage development, but I think we have to encourage responsible development. I think there's a difference between just build me something. So infrastructure is job one. God, this is such a big question. First of all, when it comes to economic development, the numbers are around 80%. This is I've read several different numbers on it, but about 80% of your job growth usually comes from existing businesses. So in some respects, we could do a whole lot more to encourage, if we did more, it would be more effective to encourage our existing businesses to grow and help them expand than it is to go out and try to recruit the same small company that everybody and his grandmother is recruiting. And an interesting side twist on this too, by the way, Toyota went to San Antonio, which, by the way, we wouldn't want a Toyota in Kerrville. We don't have the infrastructure for it. We don't have the rail that you need for it. We don't have it's just, they would never fit here. Heavy industry doesn't belong in this valley. This is what makes us unique, and we need to keep that. But Toyota brought 1,800 new jobs to San Antonio. Proportionately, that's about 50 jobs to Kerrville. So if we went out and we landed 50 jobs, proportionately, that would be roughly equivalent to Toyota. Now, look at what happened with the James Avery utilities. Running those utilities to James Avery saved 285 jobs. That's like bringing 5 or 6 Toyotas to Kerrville. I know it's hard to see in those terms, but just do the math. 50 people, we saved 5 times 50 people. That's like 5 Toyotas that we saved in Kerrville. That was a very important step that a lot of people didn't see. What else would you like me to tell you about?
Well, the City Council's role in working with the Economic Development Corporation.
You know, if I would be critical of the City Council, it would be that we waited a little bit too long to encourage KEDF to reform themselves, to reorganize. We probably could have been a little bit bolder. We probably could have been a little bit more, a little tougher. But that said, they are reorganizing, and I just saw a report a couple of days ago. They are going about it right. They're not just willy-nilly saying, well, there's 7 of us now, or 9 of us. Well, I guess it's 9. They're actually thinking it through. Step 1, step 2, step 2. What's our mission? What values are? What are we trying to accomplish here? What are our priorities? They are really going at it just right. It's Trevor and Don, I don't remember his last name, and Todd Parton. Todd Parton is a thinker. And so these guys are laying a foundation for the foundation that's going to be phenomenal. The city, I think, played a big role in that, is that we sort of forced their hand. Now, some people say that we should have been a little bit more aggressive, but you know, you don't tell 40 of your leading citizens that they're doing a crummy job and they're not going to get a second shot at it. So I think they're doing a great job, and I understand that they pretty much said we're going to start with a blank sheet, and I like that. Well, we do have a role here. One of the problems that we have in Kerrville is a huge medical personnel crisis. A friend of mine went to Sid Pete a couple of weeks ago and waited 9 hours to get from the emergency room to his bed, his room. That's unconscionable. But they did what they could with what they had. So while the city doesn't control the hospital and their recruiting efforts, I think we could be very supportive of it. And you've got to understand that Kerrville has 3 times per capita more over 65 than the rest of the state. So we have a huge need for medical personnel. And by the way, recruiting medical personnel brings lots of money into the community, and it's a very low carbon footprint. So I really support that in a big way. I'm sorry to take so long on that.
No, good.
There's just a lot to say.